Hello and welcome again. We've reached our final lesson together. And before we begin, you know how it goes. I'd like you to take a breath, a slow breath in and a slow breath out. And if it feels comfortable, perhaps place a hand on your heart. Not because we're trying to fix anything here or because we're trying to change anything. This is just a gesture of kindness towards yourself. Because today's lesson is about someone who's probably been overlooked for a very long time, you. When a child is struggling, parents often disappear, not physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. We become consumed by appointments, therapies, schools, doctors, medications, crisis plans, safety plans, conversations, sleepless nights, and just endless worry, really. Our attention just becomes fixed on our child. And while, again, it's completely understandable, it comes at a cost. We slowly stop noticing ourselves. We stop asking how we're doing. We stop paying attention to our own needs. We stop acknowledging our own pain, and somewhere along the way we begin to believe that we don't even matter right now, that our child comes first, that we can deal with ourselves later. I put off hospital appointments. I put off seeing my friends. I put everything off, actually, to put my child first. We believe that we'll rest when things improve, that we'll heal when the crisis is over, that we're going to take care of ourselves once our child is okay. I know this pattern so well because for years my attention was almost entirely focused outward. I was trying to save my daughter, trying to support her, trying to understand what was happening, trying to keep her safe. And underneath all of that, I was carrying enormous amounts of grief that I didn't even recognize at first. Because nobody talks much about the grief of parenting through crisis, do they? The grief of watching your child suffer, the grief of seeing possibilities and opportunities disappear, the grief of plans changing, the grief of uncertainty everywhere, and the grief of the helplessness. Also the grief of just watching someone you love so much struggle and not being able to carry it for them. There's grief in all of this, and it deserves to be acknowledged. And so many of us parents feel guilty when we hear that. We think, but my child is the one who's suffering. And yes, your child is suffering, but that does not mean your suffering doesn't matter. Both can be true. Your child can be struggling and you can be struggling too. Your child can need support and you can need support too. There's enough room for both. In fact, one of the greatest gifts we can offer our children is a parent who's willing to care for themselves. My daughter loves to see me taking care of myself. Not perfectly, not selfishly, just compassionately. I'm showing her what it looks like to take care of herself. One of the deepest truths that I've discovered through this journey is that my daughter's crisis didn't only change her life, it changed mine. It forced me to look at things I'd spent decades avoiding, and it brought me face to face with old wounds, old fears, old grief, old stories about who I thought I was. Long before I became a parent, there were times in my life when I felt profoundly disconnected from myself. Times when life felt unbearably heavy, actually. Times when I felt lost. Times when I questioned whether I wanted to be here at all. Like many people, I carried pain that I didn't fully understand. And although I spent years searching for healing, it was quite often easier to focus on helping other people than it was to truly turn toward myself. And then my daughter's crisis arrived, and suddenly there was nowhere left to turn, not because her suffering was a gift, I'd never describe it that way, but because it invited me into a deeper relationship with myself than I have ever known before. It invited me to stop fixing, to stop performing, stop pretending I was fine, and begin listening to my own heart, listening to my own pain, listening to the parts of me that had waited years to be seen. What I've learned is that healing doesn't begin when life becomes easy. Healing begins when we turn towards ourselves. Healing begins when we turn toward ourselves with compassion and kindness. These are words that I heard over and again before they really rang true and I began to take them on board. Compassion is very different from self-improvement. I was very good at reading the books and watching the videos and even going to the odd seminar. But compassion is very different. It doesn't ask, what's wrong with me? Compassion asks, what happened to me? Compassion asks, what am I carrying? Compassion asks, what do I need right now? So often parents become the last person on their own list. Everyone else's needs come first. Everyone else's feelings come first. Everyone else's well-being comes first. And yet, imagine if a dear friend came to you exhausted, frightened, heartbroken, and overwhelmed. Would you tell them to keep pushing? Would you tell them their needs don't matter? Would you tell them to wait until everyone else was okay before they took care of themselves? Of course you wouldn't. I imagine you'd offer them kindness, you'd offer them some understanding, you'd offer them some grace, and perhaps it's time to offer some of that to yourself because you matter. Not because you're useful, not because you're strong, not because you're holding everything together even, not because your child needs you. You matter just because you matter. Full stop. Your well-being matters, your nervous system matters, your healing matters, your rest, your joy, your life, all matter. One of the biggest shifts in my own journey came when I stopped seeing self-care as something extra, something optional, something I'd get around to eventually, and began seeing it as part of the work itself. I began seeing it as something that was healing my whole family, because the more regulated I became, the more available I became, the more connected I became to myself, the more connected I became to my daughter. The more compassion I extended toward myself, the more compassion I could offer others. Not because I was becoming better, because I was becoming more whole. Before we finish today, I'd like to invite you into one final reflection, please. Let's take that slow breath in and a slow breath out. I invite you to allow your attention to settle into your heart and ask yourself gently, how am I really? Not the version you tell other people, not the version that's trying to be strong, the version that's managing. How am I really? Pause, and whatever arises, simply allow it. Now ask, what do I need right now? Not next month, not when things improve, not when the crisis is over, right now. Perhaps you need rest. Perhaps you need support. Perhaps you need to cry. Perhaps you need a walk. Perhaps you need connection. Perhaps you need possibility. Whatever arises, allow it to matter. And finally, I'd like to invite you to place a hand on your heart once more and repeat silently if it feels right. I matter too. My needs matter. My feelings matter. My healing matters. I am worthy of the same compassion I offer everyone else. Take one final breath and allow those words to settle. As we bring this course to a close, I want to leave you with something I wish every parent could hear. You are not alone. You are not failing. You do not need to be perfect. You do not need to have all the answers. Your child does not need perfection. They need connection. And so do you. Out of my own journey and my daughter's journey emerged 4 simple touchstones that help me return to myself again and again. Safety check, anchor, feel, don't fix, exhale. Together they became the safe practice, a way of finding solid ground in the midst of all this uncertainty. It's just been a way of coming back to myself, and perhaps a way for you to come back to yourself too. Thank you so much for allowing me to walk beside you. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for your love. And thank you for showing up. One breath, one moment, one conversation at a time. You've got this. Go gently and take good care of yourself.